friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here to talk about the benefits and uses of castor oil. Now, this is the brand of castor oil I use. It's the Acacia brand, and this is organic, hexane free, all that great stuff. And it does say skincare oil, but I also use this internally, just not very often. Mostly I use it externally, and I'm going to be talking about that. But first, let me go over some of the many benefits to castor oil and how it's been used for centuries for many ailments. The obvious one right off the bat that you probably know most about, or have heard about the most, is as a laxative. It was very common throughout many years that castor oil was used as a laxative. Now, I am not certain on the actual amounts. I would assume a teaspoon up to a tablespoon. I'm sure it's going to be very dependent on the person who needs it. So please make sure you look that up for yourself to find out what the actual amount is. And then another very common thing, which is another reason why you should not take this internally if you're pregnant. If you are at full term in your pregnancy and you're still waiting for that baby to come along, taking castor oil internally can help induce labor. And so that was another very common use of castor oil. Now, some other benefits of castor oil, be it something you're using internally or externally, is that it's antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, it strengthens the immune system, and it supports the lymphatic system. So these were some new things I had learned about it and was like, wow, that is super cool, even though I've been using it for years in several different ways. So externally, as I'm also sure you've heard, it's quite often used for skin care in many different ways. And coming back to the anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties, this makes it really good for wound care and helping with arthritis and any other kind of inflammation on the skin or even under the skin. It's also antifungal, so it can be used to help with treating toenail fungus, ringworm, and other type of fungal infections. It can also help treat dandruff, so obviously that would be applied directly to the scalp. And because it's antibacterial, it can help treat acne and also very nourishing for the skin and softening. So a lot of times people with acne, they kind of freak out because it's sort of been taught to freak out about oils, adding more oils to skin that's already oily, but it's the right oils that matter. And there's many great oils that can help heal and reverse acne. And also, here's the other thing, because it helps to increase circulation, that's another reason why it's really good for using in any kind of rub for achy joints and muscles and more. It's helpful at reducing scars and stretch marks, and also can be very soothing and healing for sunburns. I would say mixing a little bit of a lavender essential oil in there and then applying to a burn should work really good. I've used lavender oil. I've never tried castor oil on a burn yet, but I will. I'm gonna mix, next time I get a burn, I'm gonna mix it with lavender oil and try that. It's good at conditioning brittle nails and softening cuticles, and is often been promoted as helping with hair growth. That's eyelash, eyebrows, the hair on your head. Even though they'll say there's no scientific evidence that this works, I know there's many people that have testified that castor oil has been very helpful in that. And so on to some of my uses. Because of those things right there, that's why it's something I add to my homemade mascara, which I do have a video on. I also use it as part of the oil that I infuse herbs into for my hair growth treatment that I use directly on my scalp, and yes, I leave it on. I have a video on this recipe that I'll link to in the description box down below. I'll use it directly on my lips, just plain when my lips are dry. Usually I just use my skin cream anyway, but if this is handier, I'll just grab that and put a little bit on there. Really good for conditioning any of your skin and hair. In the evenings, especially in the wintertime, and sometimes morning too, in the wintertime, when I go to use my homemade skin cream, I'll put a little dab of the skin cream in my hand, which I have a recipe on that as well, and then I'll put just a little squirt of the castor oil in there and then rub them together, and I'll apply that to my face and my neck. Now, trying to apply castor oil, because it is so thick, directly to your face, it doesn't absorb well. It'll just sit there on the surface. So it's good to mix it with something else. Now let me cover a few things that you got to watch out for when it comes to using castor oil, especially if you're talking about using it internally, and that is obviously if you have any allergy to castor oil, just like anything else, clearly it's something you'll need to avoid. It should not be combined with medications such as diuretics and corticosteroids, or even the herb licorice root. You shouldn't combine those two. I actually forgot why, but you shouldn't take the two of those together. And like many things, just like the turpentine, castor oil should not be taken internally in large amounts for a long period of time. Obviously, the higher the amount, the more it's going to just push everything through, but you do have to be careful with amounts. Moderation is important, and finding the amount that's best for you is also very important. It's going to vary from person to person. So you always got to take caution whenever you're using anything, especially oils, such any kind of essential oil, whether you're using those essential oils externally or internally, and a lot of herbs. There's a lot of herbs out there. When you're looking at them, using them medicinally, if you're talking about culinary herbs, you usually don't use enough of those at once for it to be an issue, but when you're using it in medicinal doses, any herb you have to be careful with, because anything can be too much. Taking too much oregano can actually disrupt the natural gut flora. It can be good for helping to get rid of candida and help with other issues, but too much of it, especially like the essential oil or eating it fresh off the plant, can actually kill the healthy gut flora that you need. So it's always about finding a balance. So even if an herb is really safe, peppermint is the same way. It can do the same thing. And I can tell when I've had too much peppermint, be it that I've been drinking a lot of peppermint tea, and then I also decided to make some peppermint patty bark and was nibbling on that at the same time I'm drinking all this tea. I can tell my stomach will start to feel a little weird, so I back off. It doesn't happen very often, but it has happened before. So even some of the safest herbs, you still have to be very careful with when it comes to taking in high doses. So just remember that applies to anything. And I don't always remember to add that little disclaimer to every video. Just remember, I am not a licensed naturopath. I'm not a licensed herbalist. I'm an herbalist in my own right, you could say, but I hate saying that because I don't like giving myself too much credit when I'm just a self-studied person and I like to share the information with you. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a degree in anything. This is all just my own personal studies that I'm putting out there to share with you. Now, don't forget, in the description box down below, I'll be linking to several different things that I've already mentioned. I'll go ahead and put my herb profiles playlist in the description box down below, and anything I think of that can be helpful. And what I would also like from any of you, are you using castor oil on a regular basis? How do you use it? Do you take it internally, externally? What do you use it for, and how has it helped you? Because all these stories that real life people can share with each other is where I think we can learn some of the best information. It doesn't mean what that person does is going to work for us. It's just good to be able to compile all this information and then consider it. And of course, very important, start doing the important research, really looking at the scientific studies for yourself. Just remember, not all the benefits, just like a lot of people swear by castor oil for helping it promote hair growth, but there's apparently no scientific studies to prove it works. I believe it does, because there's so many great testimonials about it. So I think when we combine both the real life testimonials along with what we can find scientifically studied about different things, we can learn the most. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video on that. You'll also learn something new. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.